Imagine standing on the red sands of Mars, staring back at a blue dot in the sky, knowing that this is the culmination of centuries of dreams, failures, and human ingenuity. From our vantage point in 2200, it's hard to overstate the historical significance of that day. The day humans left Earth to establish their first permanent colony on another planet. Fellow history buffs, today on ERAFUSION History, we're diving deep into this monumental chapter of human history, exploring not just the logistics of leaving Earth, but the profound cultural, scientific, and personal ramifications of becoming interplanetary. The journey to Mars didn't begin with the first rocket landing on its surface. The seeds were planted decades, even centuries earlier. Space enthusiasts of the 21st and 22nd centuries imagined humanity spreading across the solar system, but early efforts were incremental. Robotic explorers, orbiters, and unmanned rovers mapped the Martian surface, analyzed its soil and atmosphere, and searched for water. These missions, Mars Pathfinder, Spirit, Opportunity, Curiosity, Perseverance, built the foundational knowledge that would allow humans to survive on a world that is hostile in every conceivable way. By the mid-21st century, international collaboration intensified. Space agencies from the United States, China, Europe, and private enterprises like SpaceX began serious studies on long-duration habitation. Unlike Earth-bound projects, Mars colonization required a marriage of engineering, biology, and sociology. Engineers designed closed-loop habitats, agricultural scientists experimented with Martian soil simulants, and psychologists studied the effects of prolonged isolation. This was no longer a dream. It was a monumental, cross-disciplinary human experiment. The day humans finally left Earth, June 12, 2089, was one of the most documented days in history, rivaling even the moon landing in global attention. The world watched as a fleet of spacecraft, known collectively as the Ares Convoy, lifted off from the Kennedy Lue spaceport in Florida. Families of the first Martian colonists waved goodbye, some with tears, others with quiet pride. You know, it's worth noting that leaving Earth wasn't simply about technological readiness. It was also a psychological and philosophical leap. Humans were abandoning not just a planet, but a shared home of millennia, for a barren world with no atmosphere breathable without life support, no oceans, and dust storms that could, honestly, engulf entire habitats. Historians often remark that the courage displayed by these first colonists is difficult to compare to any other moment in human exploration. More audacious than the Age of Discovery, more radical than polar expeditions, and arguably more consequential. The first Martian colonists were an extraordinary mix of individuals, selected not just for technical skill, but for adaptability and emotional resilience. Among the 120 pioneers were engineers, doctors, agricultural scientists, geologists, and communication specialists. There were families with children, carefully chosen to ensure genetic diversity for future generations. Each person underwent rigorous simulations on Earth and in orbiting space stations before stepping onto the Martian surface. One fascinating detail, often overlooked, is how much human culture was considered in planning the colony. Architects designed habitats not only for efficiency, but for psychological well-being. The first Martian homes incorporated colors, textures, and lighting that mimicked Earth's environment. Music, literature, and art were integrated into daily life to help colonists maintain a connection to humanity's terrestrial roots. In many ways, the first Martian colony was as much a social experiment as it was a scientific one. Traveling to Mars is, not a simple hop. At its closest, Mars is 54.6 million kilometers from Earth. At its farthest, it's over 400 million. The Ares Convoy utilized advanced propulsion systems, combining nuclear thermal engines with solar electric assists, to reduce travel time. Still, the journey took nearly 8 months. Life aboard the spacecraft was both monotonous and tense. Colonists adhered to strict schedules to maintain physical and mental health. Daily routines included exercise in centrifugal gravity simulators, scientific experiments, educational sessions for the children, and detailed maintenance of life support systems. Communication with Earth was limited by a time delay of up to 22 minutes each way, forcing the pioneers to make critical decisions independently, a necessity for the survival of the mission, and honestly, a unique stress test for human governance off-world. When the first shuttle, Pioneer 1, touched down in the Utopia Planitia region, cameras captured images that now fill our history textbooks. Dust billowed around the landing site, and the first footprints in Martian regolith symbolized humanity's literal and figurative first step toward becoming a multi-planetary species. Landing on Mars was not without peril. The thin atmosphere offered minimal resistance, requiring precision retro-rockets and advanced navigation to prevent catastrophic failure. The successful touchdown was the culmination of decades of trial, error, and simulation. Every step forward on Mars represented the triumph of human ingenuity over environmental adversity. The early days after landing focused on establishing reliable habitats and energy sources. Solar arrays, nuclear generators, and water extraction units from underground ice deposits formed the backbone of survival. Scientists planted the first Martian crops in controlled greenhouses, adapting Earth plants to low-pressure, high-radiation conditions. Every success, no matter how small, was, celebrated as a step toward long-term survival. Daily life on Mars was, radically different from Earth. Yet it was filled with routines, and honestly, a lot of human creativity. Colonists developed these rotational schedules to manage habitat maintenance, agricultural production, and, of course, scientific exploration. Education for the children included lessons about Earth's history, Martian geology, and space survival skills. An immersive curriculum that historians now regard as foundational for understanding early interplanetary societies. Social cohesion became a priority. Long-term isolation could fracture even the strongest communities, so psychologists developed programs to promote conflict resolution, emotional health, and, morale. Recreational activities included virtual reality experiences of Earth landscapes, artistic expression, and even small-scale sports adapted for low gravity. Interestingly, these measures not only sustained the colonists, but shaped the cultural identity of Mars itself, a blend of Earth heritage and pioneering ingenuity. The first colony on Mars transformed humanity's understanding of survival, adaptation, and planetary science. Geologists uncovered clues about Mars's past climate and the presence of water, potentially reshaping our theories of life beyond Earth. Biologists studied how Earth-based organisms adapted to Martian conditions, informing medicine and agriculture for extreme environments. Every experiment doubled as a lesson in resilience and innovation for future generations of spacefarers. From a historical perspective, this event marked a turning point. Humanity was no longer confined to a single planet. The political, cultural, and philosophical ramifications were immense. Laws, governance structures, and international treaties had to evolve to accommodate life on another world. Historians today often compare this epoch to the Renaissance or the Industrial Revolution, an era when human potential was radically redefined. For those of us fascinated by history, the first Martian colony offers real, actionable insights. Success was never about a single breakthrough. It was about preparation, collaboration, and adaptability. Future explorers, whether on Europa, Titan, or even interstellar missions, can learn from the meticulous planning, psychological conditioning, and societal engineering that made Mars colonization possible. One lesson that stands out is the importance of maintaining a connection to culture and human identity. Colonists who engaged with art, literature, and social rituals fared better than those who focused solely on technical tasks. Survival depended not just on technology, but on sustaining the human spirit. This insight resonates for all historical endeavors. Humanity thrives when knowledge, culture, and cooperation intersect. From our vantage in 2200, we can see that the first Martian colony was more than a scientific or technological milestone. It was a defining moment for human civilization. It represents the courage, ingenuity, and resilience that has always defined our species. It's a story that echoes across generations, reminding us that the frontier is not just a place, but a challenge to human imagination and determination. As history enthusiasts, we can trace the lineage of exploration from the first sea voyages to polar expeditions, to lunar missions, and now to interplanetary settlements. Each leap was a risk, a gamble with human life, and yet humanity persisted. The red sands of Mars are the newest chapter in our story, a reminder that history is not just about the past, but also about understanding the choices that shape the future. So, fellow history buffs, when we study the day humans left Earth, we are not just examining a date or a mission. We are witnessing a moment when humanity truly became interplanetary. The courage, preparation, and spirit of those first colonists continue to inspire us. Their story reminds us that history is alive, unfolding not just on Earth but across the cosmos. If you loved exploring this monumental event with us, make sure to subscribe to ERAFUSION History, share this story with fellow history enthusiasts, and stay tuned for more deep dives into humanity's most incredible moments. Together, we'll continue to uncover the events that shaped and continue to shape our species and our place in the universe.